Thank you. Fabulous. Well, the idea of this last talk is to kind of give you some of the themes we're seeing around the globe, and I've called it kind of co-fusion or confusion, because I'll focus a little bit about co-working and where we're taking it as we see this massive trend for the idea of co-work. The future of work on the screen is really about this collision between people, place, and technology, and it's on everyone's agenda. But the problem is people are unhappy. You look around the world, people sitting in offices, they are just not happy. And Gallup's annual survey proves this. They do a survey every year, and they find here that 77% of people inside offices are not engaged and don't want to be there. And that's partly because we shove too many people into too little space. We're forever kind of squeezing more people in because offices are expensive. And we have to think about what's different. What can we do that's not just about more people in their space? What's exciting for us is that there's a massive move now to get people to come back into the workplace. Yahoo was famous, Marissa Mayer, for bringing people back into the office. And that's really because working from home has got its problems. And I want to show you a quick video here. This was a man who's an expert in North Korea. He was live on BBC television globally being interviewed about the future of North Korea and Kim Jong-un.
Scandals happen all the time. The question is, how do democracies respond to those scandals?
And what will it mean for the wider region? I think one of your children has just walked in. I mean, shifting sands in the region. Do you think relations with the North may change?
I would be surprised if they do. Pardon me. Pardon me. My apologies.
What's this going to mean for the region?
My apologies.
So he's got a map of the world, he's got his book, it's all looking great,
North Korea, South
and it all goes wrong. So homes are now changing. This is called Second Home in London. It's one of the most exciting co-work spaces in the capital, created by Rohan Silva, now rolling out to a whole range of destinations across London. And it really is designed to be like your second home, a place to come that's not your home, but it's not the traditional workplace. And as you heard in the last book I wrote, one of the trends that we identified was the re-emergence of the guild. And guild buildings are coming back. This is a place called the Battery in San Francisco, one of my favorite kind of co-working spaces, founded by Michael Birch, and it feels like a club. It feels like your living room, and it's one of the most exciting places to go and work now in San Francisco. The guilds, they're the first buildings in medieval cities. This is actually Salzburg, and each of those buildings was built for a specific guild. And a guild was for a skill or profession, goldsmiths, tanners, and so on. And we're seeing these coming back. Who knows the Ministry of Sound, the club and the music label, yeah? Last month, they opened their first co-work. So this is called the Ministry. It's in London. It's a co-working space designed for people in the music industry, and it's full in a few weeks. And you can have a screening, there are DJs, it never closes, there's a full license bar, and there are workspaces. This building is called the Hospital. It's in Covent Garden in London, funded by Paul Allen, one of the founders of Microsoft. It's a club for people in the TV industry, in television. You can come in, you can have meetings, but in the basement is a full studio. You can make your own television programs inside a co-working club with no studios that you'd own yourself. This is in Los Angeles, Neuhaus, for the film industry. So a co-working club, actually in the famous old CBS Records building where the Beach Boys recorded. And it's now an incredible co-work space. And again, you can not only work there, you can actually launch a new album, a new product, a new movie. So we're seeing co-working and events really kind of coming through. Now, of course, the kind of poster child is WeWork. We're all tracking the crazy success of WeWork as they come into this region as well. And what they've got is a product that's not particularly innovative, you might say, but the buzz and the vibe and the energy is there. And they're extending outside of the workplace into living, into gyms, into nurseries, into awards. So We Live is now a place that you can actually have a bedroom, as much as We Work that will be downstairs, a place you work. So they're bringing all of these things together into a very different kind of paradigm. What we now find is that the major corporates are saying, well, we need this as well. So big corporate clients are saying, we can't just put our people into places like WeWork, we need to build our own versions of this. So KPMG, one of the larger global accounting firms, has just opened recently an office in London, but they're calling it a club. It's 40,000 square feet, and it feels like a club. There are no desks at all. There are no offices for partners. It's just a great club for clients and partners to come together. And the club has dining rooms, meeting facilities, a bar, a fantastic restaurant. There's even a chef's table in the kitchen, so you can watch the chef and eat in the kitchen. And there's terraces, and you can have a cocktail, and so on. And about 14,000 people a month are now coming in to the KPMG club in Mayfair. Now we're seeing a lot of companies say, well, we want our own club. You know, that's the future of work. We don't want to put our people into co-working. We want to just have them inside our own club. And others are saying, well, we don't want just a club. We want a place where innovation and ideas are created. So just to show you what the banks are doing, here is Barclays in New York, opening a new building called Rise, where they've embedded Techstars, which runs boot camps. And here is Barclays Rise. It's a mixture of co-work and incubation space for boot camps, so they can spot the next fintech investment. So there you've got big corporates opening their own incubation and acceleration and co-working spaces in standalone buildings. RBS, once the world's biggest bank, has now launched this new building for their digital teams in London. They've put Rocket Space inside their building. Now, Rocket Space was the amazing startup environment in San Francisco, where Uber started with 4 people. And Rocket Space is known to be the most interesting players in this environment. So here's what they've done inside a banking building. They've just embedded the kind of Rocket Space formula inside a bank environment. And therefore the bank employees can rub up against digital and innovators and people doing exciting things. So we're now seeing buildings, and this is landlords and developers, say, well, how can we respond? How can we build buildings for the future that respond to this kind of crazy world of co-working? And under construction in London is a new building called 22 Bishopsgate. It will be the biggest building in Europe. It's the one in the middle here, for those that don't know it. It's the tallest building in London. It will house 10,000 people when it's finished. Over 1 million square feet. What they've done is they've changed the idea of a building to make it active. So all the blue floors are not leased to anybody, but they're shared floors for all the tenants. So there's an incredible experience at the lobby area, including huge food courts that will be just for the people in the building. But as you go up the building, there's a marketplace, there's an exchange, there's a gym, there's a retreat, and there's a club, all through the building, which the people who work there can all begin to use, all driven by a platform. So the experience when you come in will no longer be a very dead lobby of old. It will be activated, there'll be biometrics, as you heard from Rodrigo, and the whole journey in will be different. You'll be able, on the gym level, to climb a wall on the facade of the building. Inside, I hasten to add, not outside, but 50 floors above the streets of London, you can do a climbing wall. And of course, it's all going to be glued together by an app. And we're seeing more and more buildings providing apps so that tenants can use these things in different ways. So, what we're seeing is that digital is different based on when you were born. The people running companies today are typically at this end. They're the digital nomads or migrants. They didn't grow up with digital technology. But as you heard from the previous speaker, digital is now the #1 priority for chief executives. The people who have that as their priority are not particularly digital themselves. So they rely on digital natives and, even more exciting, digital dependents who are coming to the workforce in the next few years. So the challenge for us all is to build digital workplaces, and we have to decide what that looks like. Now, who can tell me what this is? Anyone know what this is? Sorry? Fortnite, yeah. So again, you saw the rapid rise of the games. This Fortnite has gone to 120 million odd users. It's a phenomena, and their users are typically digital dependents. And they use this not just to play games, but to socialize and to interact with people in very different ways. So as they come into the workplace, they won't just be changing how work is done. They'll be joined by robots and by AI and work alongside them in very, very different ways. This is the predictions from Davos for when robots will take over various functions. So if we look forward to the next 10 years, there is a huge amount of disruption that's coming from robotics, from everything to kind of writing and driving, as we know about, to kind of working in retail, wayfinding, carrying your bags, etc., etc. And we're seeing this happening today. So Amazon is pushing headlong into automation. You've probably heard of Amazon Go. It's a store, it's a retail store, it's open in Seattle. You walk in, it knows who you are because of your app, and it recognizes you by your face. And every single product has a camera on it, as you heard from Rodrigo's presentation. You take whatever you want off the shelf, you put it in your bag, and you walk out, and it just bills it to your Prime account. And Amazon is just pushing headlong, as the other trillion-dollar business, into the workplace now. There's a new division in Seattle called Amazon Alexa for Work. And so they're going to bring voice into offices in the next year. It's launched in North America, and their vision is that all over the office you'll be talking to Alexa and other digital assistants. Now, this has kind of become a very exciting trend for us. Bose, the headphone makers, have just launched the Shoulder. This is an incredible device. It's paper thin, it sits on your shoulder, and you can just talk at it as you work and ask it things, and it will do things for you. It will answer the phone, it will play you music. It will just be an interaction to the world around you. So what does that mean for offices if we start talking all day long? It might be the death of open plan, or certainly the biggest challenge for acoustics we're going to see in the next few years in the open office as these things come through. And we think they're real. We think there'll be much more need to use voice at work. The robots are also coming. This is the MasterCard Cafe in Tokyo. SoftBank's robots, Pepper, here is really persuasive. And we're seeing robot cleaners, security guards, butlers in offices now around the world. So how do you make robots effective in the office? Well, one thing is floor levels. The robot has to be able to call the lift, get into the lift. There are lots of small details to think about in designing space for robots. And yesterday, the other trillion-dollar business, Apple, launched the new XS. And the XS is another pioneering step into this incredible device that we have in our pockets that gives us fantastic experience and connection. And really what we're now predicting is that this experience with a high-quality screen and haptics in your pocket will come more and more into physical space now. So we're going to see the same technology on the walls of our offices. We will expect to walk up to a screen or a complete wall and touch and interact with it. And this will get better and better. Just to kind of continue the Microsoft story, Microsoft have partnered with Steelcase, and they're beginning at long last to integrate technology into furniture and into physical space. So the new Microsoft Steelcase Surface Studio is a complete holistic vision for technology and space as a product. And we'll see more and more of this, more experimentation of technology in different structures and different physical spaces. Because if you want to collaborate, you don't go into a normal meeting room with a rectangular table and a screen at the end of the room. You want to be kind of immersed. And Microsoft, we're working with their Surface team, and they're going to launch Surface 2, probably, when is it, next year now? Probably Q1? Q1. But I want to give a quick hint because we are very excited about what Surface 2 will mean for the office. that that will have a huge impact, we think, on the design of space. You know, no longer will a video conference be going into a VC suite or seeing a little square on your screen. You'll walk up to people and you'll be talking to them as if they were in the room and see their full body. And we'll see a big change, we think, next year when these technologies and others come out. And they'll get better and better and larger. These are the new high-scale, huge-scale LED screens coming out of China. So this is the new Salesforce Tower in San Francisco, where they've literally wrapped the entire lift lobby, the elevator lobby, in LED technology with incredible sound. And this waterfall is worth seeing. I'll show you a quick video of what this looks like using the Obscura technology, because really it's the beginning of immersive experience now with technology embedded into physical space.
We didn't want to have something too dynamic in the morning when people are walking in, so we shifted to more dynamic things. So say the waterfall, when people are walking out for lunch and things like that, and you have a lot of energy going.
The water wall is very simple on its surface. It's basically just water coming down on the walls, but there were a few challenges. Essentially, this fluid simulation had to be created. We wanted it to be.
And that's an amazing experience when you go into that lobby that's just opening in San Francisco. So that's the kind of the journey for you. There's a huge amount of confusion over co-work. But I think to kind of recap, we don't see it being just the kind of products you have today. We're seeing the re-emergence of guilds, specialist co-work spaces for particular industries or skills. So there'll be co-working for music, television, film, accountancy, and so on. We're seeing companies, corporates, saying we need co-working for us. So we'll see new clubs being built for corporates. We'll see corporates embedding co-working and incubation into their workspace to change completely how people work together. And then we looked at the idea of new technology, the idea of the acceptance and the expectation of digital dependence to have touch, to have intelligence in their pocket, to link that to the rooms and the world around them. And I think when you're designing the next reception areas and you want to attract those digital dependents to work for you, as we heard from the last presentation, they need to walk in and just feel a sense of excitement as they do playing Fortnite. So for Unwork, this is how we try and summarize that world. No more confusion, but co-fusion, everything kind of fused together. And that's the secret for a strategy. You know, work is at the center, but we see this as the idea of a coefficient. And on the right-hand side is the area of people, well-being, vibe, emotion, atmosphere, linking to the digital on the left, which is around experience and apps and immersion, and then into the kind of physical workspace, which is about what you build and what you design and who sits with whom and so on. So that's the journey. It's a very exciting area. Don't be confused, but really embrace this idea of co-work, which is a big new wave, I think, of innovation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.